All right, it is week 29, and as I promised 10 demos this week, I missed it. I got sucked into the second layer of the OSI stack and locked behind our firewall. So next week I'll be back with 20 demos, but we're going to go ahead and start it off this week with Dylan.
Thank you, Robin. This week I've been working on an Agentuity agent that will basically take a link from an external pre-built agent example from a couple different frameworks, Mostra, Agno, Llama Index, all these different ones, and then basically port it into our Agentuity framework and then also open a PR in our examples repo. Here I can show you. So basically how it would work is you basically just paste a URL of an example agent into the Agentify agent dev mode. That agent will send Devin, our internal AI, structured prompt, keep the framework intact, wrap it with the Agentuity handlers, the welcomes, and then also deal with error handling. And then from there, Devin will build the agent, then we'll build the project, create the directory, write the main agent code, the readmes, the configurations, and then open a PR to, like I said, our examples repo. And then we will review that PR and inspect what Devin created to see if everything is correct. I'm still working out some kinks there, but that's kind of the main idea how it's going to work. And you can see here the code. So in the main kind of index function, we receive the URL to an agent example, and then Devin will build that agent using this prompt. So with the rules of keeping our original framework intact, adding Agentuity wrappers, the welcomes default agent, all this kind of stuff that we need. And then it will basically call the Devin API, and then return the Devin session info that we can kind of inspect at that point. And then, we have some utilities, which is calling Devin the API part and everything like that. And the HTML parser, which is kind of responsible for going into the actual link and getting everything that we need. And I can kind of show you quickly how this works. And so basically right here, we have kind of just a simple demo for this agent, and I can run this example. So this one is the finance agent. So we have right here just from Agno as an example agent that basically gets the latest financial information from a stock or whatever you might want. And so if I run this from Devin, then we have basically it responded. So now there's a new Devin session running that's converting this example agent to an Agentuity example, and you can kind of see it here. So we have Devin here, and basically it just received this prompt with the link to the finance agent, and it knows exactly what to do. And you can see kind of it's setting up and it's getting ready to create everything that we need. It's kind of what I've been working on recently. And I will pass it over to Pedro.
Hey. So I just got back from paternity leave, and then this week I've been catching up and helping a little bit with some miscellaneous bugs and infrastructure. But today I took the time to build for Agent Day to build an agent. So let me share really quickly my screen. So I vibe coded a full stack app, which is pretty cool. And I'm using Agentuity agent in the backend to do some of the AI stuff, right? So this is inspired by, hold on a second. So this is inspired by a demo that Rick did a while ago. So I thought about it. I said, you could actually build a whole startup around this. So I wanted to see how far I could get in about a day worth of work. So what you would do as a restaurant, you would go here, you would say, I'm going to create an account as a restaurant. I'm not going to do all of this because it takes some time. But once you fill in all of these details and you give it the URL, I have an agent that will go to the URL and then we'll try to extract some information from that website, like business hours and what type of food do you offer, that sort of thing. And I'll show the code in a second. So I'm going to sign in as one of those restaurants over here. Like this one, for example. I just went to Google Maps and just picked one. See, the redirect doesn't really work well. So give it a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so anyway, so it scraped the website. It got some information from that website, like the address, description, and then like business hours, which is pretty cool. And then another thing that you can do here, you can upload a menu, like using a PDF, and then it will it will read the PDF, and then it will create a markdown file of that PDF, right? So these are just some random menus I got from the internet somewhere, which is pretty cool. And then I did a little test. So how would the customer order something, either online or through like a kiosk at the restaurant, right? So we have a small chat. Oh, I'm just gonna copy this guy over here. So we have like a chat so we can test it. We can say, hey, I need 2 sardine sandwiches, right? And then what this does basically gets the whole markdown, and then it creates a conversation using like the key value that we offer at Agentuity. So it's gonna ask you, how many people, do you have any children, all of that stuff, right? And this is just a conversation you can go on. And at the end, you can tell it, how much is my order, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, the restaurant will get a notification on what, how to place the order. Okay. So I'll open source all of this. Show you really quick the code. So I have like 3 agents. One of them is a document parser. And this one is the one that you pass in the PDF. And then I have some code in the backend that translates it into a markdown. And then it saves it into the database. So for example, this is like the menu order. So this is where the conversation gets going, right? So every time this agent is called, it's got like this memory from the previous one, because we're passing in things like the restaurant ID, the menu ID, and then there's like another ID that we're passing in here. So it's got all the memory, and then you can go back and forth. And that's it. And, and then I tell you, once we're ready, respond with this keyword, and then that will essentially create a PDF or notification for the restaurant. So so anyway, this is my little demo. And what's cool is that I actually did all of this in one day. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we need to kind of go back and fix and tweak and stuff like that, but it's pretty awesome. This would have taken like a week or 2 normally. So anyway, that's my quick little demo. Cool. All right, next, Nick.
Thanks, Pedro. So this week, I've been working on a Slack query chat agent. I don't know exactly what to call it, but the idea is that, like, instead of, I noticed a problem. I was out for like a few days, and then I asked a question that I was in the channel, but I'd missed it. So I thought it'd be nice to have like a way to just chat with like an agent that has can read through all the channels. So I think Slack probably provides one, but I thought it'd be fun to make my own. And the cool thing that I found out is that you can, so this is the Slack bot, so normally you'd like host a Slack bot somewhere, but you can actually host it like right on Agentuity. So this agent just takes in the webhook when someone like mentions the bot, and then it passes it to the agent who takes the query, and then what it does is basically it will search for relevant channels based on their name, and then go through and look at messages. And so I'm also using Zep for memory, so it'll keep track of your conversation. And then there's also, you can ask it to search farther back in the past or something. You can ask like for specific channels, and most of it's done through like natural language. So you can kind of get it to search anywhere. So for a demo, I made this just fake Slack server with like dog information. You can see that, so I keep track in threads. So if you want to start a new conversation, you can, it's obviously not super refined, but you can switch threads, and it won't, you can start new conversations, new topics. And then it also keeps track like per user. So if I mention this bot, Zep will store the conversation under me. And then if someone else, it's not going to confuse everything. So if I ask, what are some dog stories, it'll run, and then you'll see here, it generates a search instruction and then picks channels, and then it finds messages in those channels. And it uses dates like by default, but you can just tell it search farther back, and it'll do that. And then eventually it will come back and say, yeah, here. And so actually it links to the messages, which I think is helpful because normally, it wouldn't. I mean, normally there'd be a whole, server of information, but so I just thought it was pretty cool. Definitely some stuff I could refine about it, but yeah. So that's kind of it for me. So
That's really cool. Lots of good uses for that one.
Yeah, I was thinking it could be helpful, hopefully. Yeah, so I'll pass to Matt, who's going to talk about kitchen sink.
Yeah, so everyone did agent day. I've been on agent week. I did 25 agents this week, so good start. So kitchen sink, if you don't know what kitchen sink is, everything in a kitchen sink is the phrase, right? And a kitchen sink application is basically something that demonstrates all the different functionality of a platform or a product, right? And we've done this before at a couple prior startups that we've worked at, and we've always found it's really, really helpful for developers to be able to look at code and see how every bit of something like our Agentuity SDK is utilized, right? How to call every single function, what parameters you can pass to it, what sort of thing it returns, etc. And we wanted to bring that into Agentuity. And Pratik and I have been working on this for about the past week or so, and I kind of wanted to give you a quick overview of it. So, you're going to basically download the kitchen sink application. We're talking about integrating this more into the onboarding flow so that everyone gets the kitchen sink as part of that. And if you run dev mode, we're actually using dev mode as the interface for this because there's no like UI for all these agents. So we'll just use dev mode instead. And when you fire it up, the first agent that you get stuck with is the kitchen sink sort of overview agent. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to ask questions about features and functionality and different infrastructure parts of the Agentuity platform. So this is just like a sort of standard chatbot interface at this point. You can ask it questions. But the cool thing is when you start to dive in and you see the long list of agents that we've gone in here and created for you. For instance, let's do the handler request agent. And for this agent, we've got a nice welcome message here that tells you a little bit about what the request handler is, right? And we're also going to tell you ways that you can test this locally through dev mode to be able to see how this functions. One other cool thing you could do is you can type help to any of the agents, not just the kitchen sink one, but if you type help and send that across, what it's going to do is it's going to give you sort of a high-level overview of this specific agent. So in this case, it's the request handler, that's part of every agent. So we'll wait 1 second for that. Everything's running a little bit slow today, as is usual. All right, there we go. So it's going to tell you what the request handler is. It's going to tell you why it's useful. It's going to give you some information about it. And at the end, again, you can always just go back to the kitchen sink application and ask it higher level questions that aren't directly related to the request handler, maybe how it integrates with other parts or about something else. But let's clear this. Let's go back to just a standard typical run. In this situation, we had a couple suggestions. One was plain text, one was JSON. I picked the plain text one, send it hello world. And you'll see here that what it's going to do is it's going to give you some information and demonstrate some functionality, right? So if we go into the request handler, this is what sort of all these are going to look like. We've got the help boilerplate at the start of all these. But after that, we get into the example code. And this is where it becomes really useful as a developer, because you can start to see all the different, in this situation, request data types that are available. You can see things like the trigger that kicked off this request, for instance, and you can sort of understand what all the functionality of the request handler is, right? We could do the response one. We'll do an image. So let's look at the response code. Now I can come over here, again, skip the boilerplate, and I can see that, okay, great. If I want to utilize the response functionality, I just do a response.png and I can pass it a PNG file. Boom, it works. If I want to send plain text back, I can do .text. It shows how to do streaming, all sorts of other stuff. And, we're also going to hint to you all the other great options that are available. Eventually, we'll probably flesh all these out as well, but we don't want to overload all the work at the beginning of this. We'd rather have breadth instead of depth for the moment. So we can dive into some other examples as well. We've got the gateway provider one. This is going to, what's this going to do? Let's go look. So what it's going to do, okay, it's going to take our prompt in. It's going to call OpenAI. It's going to call Google. And it's going to show us that in the same agent, you can call multiple models, right? And it's going to give you the response. You can sort of understand how the AI gateway works, right? We've got additional ones here. We've got IO for agent to agent is another good example. So we're going to do a handoff. Again, we'll open it up. Super easy to understand how this works. Okay, here's the handoff. Oh, okay. I call response.handoff. I give it the name of a different agent. I can send it a message and I respond with that message, right? Great, here it is. Now I understand how this all works, right? So we've got a long list here. We're still fleshing out a bunch of these. We've got most of the IOs left to go. We've got all the storage ones done. We've got observability. We're also starting to build out some examples. So we're going to include some examples that are not just about SDK functionality, but Slack is a really highly requested one that people are always asking about. So we'll show you how to integrate Slack bots in with your agents. And I think it's a pretty cool project. It's really useful, again, for developers to be able to understand and see the code with functionality side by side as a reference point. So you're not always having to go into the docs every single time. And it's a great teaching mechanism. The other really cool thing that allows us to do is we can, because we have basically complete coverage of the SDK, because we're showing off all the functionality, and because we have these prompts that we include as part of the welcome function, what that means is we now have a method for testing the entire SDK effectively and how a developer would utilize the SDK. So we have a test suite agent that we built that basically just goes through every single one of these agents. It grabs all the prompts from all these agents, and all it's going to do is test every single prompt for every single one of these every single one of these feature-based agents, and it's going to test the functionality of the entire SDK for us. So we can just basically have a nightly cron job that kicks off the test suite agent, and we can validate every single day that everything's working as we would expect it to work, and there are no errors. So that's it for the kitchen sink. We're still working through it. Hopefully within maybe the next week or so, we'll get it to a good spot. We can open source it, and then we'll start integrating into the onboarding flow. Coming soon.
That's really nice. That's going to be really helpful to help understand how to do certain things. So that's really awesome. All right, great week. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful week. We will see you next week. Appreciate it, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. See ya.